So welcome back everyone, Mike here. It is Friday evening and I had plans this evening to go out on the new trails that I built and maybe take the RK37 out and a box blade, just kind of smooth them up a little bit, maybe even hit them with a rake and then seed them and hit it with a cultipacker. However, it rained again today. It's rained every day this week and I pretty much had enough of that. So since it's too wet to work in the woods this evening and I still felt like shooting a video, I'm going to do a video tonight on a subject that I've been wanting to cover for a long time, and that is, what is the perfect equipment for gathering firewood? Now, I'm asking a question. I'm not telling you what the perfect equipment is because it's all going to depend on all your circumstances, but I'm going to kind of explain how things have evolved here over the years and where I'm at now and what works best for me. So years ago when I was a kid, you know, my dad and I, we would cut firewood, and he had a pickup truck, and that's what we used to gather firewood. The drawbacks to the pickup truck were you could only get so far into the woods with it, so there's a lot of, you know, carrying and dragging wood up over the hill to get it close to the pickup truck to haul in. That's how we used to do it when I was a kid. And then after I got married, it was a few years before we bought this property that joined our parents' property. And at that point, you know, you have all these woods, you always have trees blowing down, and I started cutting firewood again. This was 25 years ago, something like that. And so for a while, everything was real close to the house. And when we first got married, I used a wheelbarrow. And it actually wasn't bad, you know, because everything was real close to the house. And then over time, you know, I started building trails and things like that. And you'd have a storm and you have blowdowns. And so I needed something other than a wheelbarrow. So for probably 8 or 9 years maybe, I used a Kawasaki Bayou 220, just a little four-wheeler, two-wheel drive, and that's what I used to gather firewood with. And it actually worked pretty well. I mean, you couldn't haul a lot out in one trip. I had a little wagon for it. At first, I didn't even have a wagon. It had racks on the front and back, and you know, I'd bungee and strap like 5-foot logs on it, haul stuff out of the woods that way. And then I got a little wagon, and it worked okay, you know, no problem at all. Except for the steep hills. It didn't have a lot of power and it was only two-wheel drive. But I used that for a lot of years. And then I kind of upgraded to side-by-side, which you see in all these videos, the Polaris 900 crew cab, and it worked really well. And during that time period, on and off, I'd have a skid loader around, but the skid loader wasn't really good for working in the woods. You know, it wasn't on tracks, it was on tires, and they're pretty useless out in the woods. You just kind of spin around and slide around and you don't get much done and you make a big mess. So anyway, I got the Polaris Ranger, and boy, that was living in tall cotton right there. You know, you can pretty much get anywhere on the property with it, you know, within reason, get right next to where you're working, and but it really doesn't haul that much firewood. And so then I got a tractor. I had some tractors earlier on, but it was before we had all the property or I had any time to really do anything on the property. So then I bought the Kubota L3901, and that worked really well for firewood. I didn't have forks or grapple for it back then, and it worked well. You know, you have the front loader on it, and then I built a 3-point carryall, and that was about the time I started this YouTube channel. And coincidentally, that 3-point carryall is one of my highest views videos for some reason. I have no idea why. And that was a big part of the early growth of this channel. That one video, I think it was called Must Have Tractor Attachment, something like that. But I used that carryall, and it worked really well. So you can see over time, you know, it went from a wheelbarrow to a little four-wheeler to a side-by-side, and then on to a tractor. And then early this year, I partnered with Rural King, and that gave me an opportunity to use more equipment. And without a doubt, what I'm using now is way easier and way better than anything that I've ever done before. So I'll show you this setup here and explain why it works for me. So this is the firewood setup now. It's an RK37, which I think is a great size of a tractor for gathering firewood. Sure, a subcompact, no problem at all, you can use it, but something in the 35 to 40 horsepower range I really like for gathering firewood. And the reason, couple reasons. One, you get some increased lift capacity. Two, it's not too big to kind of wiggle around through the woods. And you know, four-wheel drive, I just think this is a good sized tractor. You can skid, you know, really big logs out close to the trail with this. And so that's, in my opinion, something in the 35 to 40 horsepower range is about perfect for gathering firewood. Now, a must-have accessory for that is the grapple. This is a Arcade by Top Dog granite grapple. Love this grapple. I've used them on skid loaders before. Never had one on a tractor until this year, and I don't know how I could live without one at this point. This is a root grapple. It's a 6-footer. Originally I was going to use this more on the RK55 than the RK37, but this tractor has a lot of lift capacity, and I really like it on this tractor for getting around the woods and things like that. You can pick your logs up, you know, so they're waist high, you're not bending over as much. So what I'll do, I'll take this tractor out in the woods, I'll cut some firewood, I fill up the dump trailer, and then like if I have a couple saw logs or whatever, I can just carry them right up here to the yard with the grapple. So you can get a really nice load of wood out with this combination. Then the dump trailer, I love this dump trailer as well. Arcade by King Cutter. I think they call this like a XB 1.5 or 1.5 XB. It hauls 1.5 tons, and it's just big enough that you can get a real nice load of firewood in it, or gravel or whatever, but it's not too big that you can't get it around the woods. And you know, you control this right from this lever here on the tractor. You can dump it right there. Works really well. But this is the setup that I have kind of evolved into from, you know, wheelbarrow originally, and it does make things a lot easier. With that tractor, I have no problem pulling a load of firewood with the wagon and carrying logs like this out of the woods. I mean, this is a real big red oak right here. That's about a 10 or 11 foot white oak. There's a cherry. You can just pick them up, carry them right out of the woods. You're not dragging them through the mud or anything like that. It works out really well. Now keep in mind, you know, the title of this video is what is the perfect setup for gathering firewood? I'm asking a question. I'm not telling you this is the perfect setup for everybody. You know, if you have to drive 10 miles and go get your firewood, you're probably not going to haul all this out there to go get some firewood. But for me, on my property, this is by far the best setup that I have used to date. And I don't know if there's anything better, but so far this is the best setup. You know, tractor in the 35 to 40 horsepower range, grapple in the dump trailer. Works really well here, and I mean, I have trails cut everywhere. It's just a really good setup for me. If you care to, go to our Facebook page, Outdoors with the Morgans, and I'll post this video there as well. And in the comments section, post pictures of your setup, what you use for gathering firewood, and we can kind of compare and start a conversation there. Something else to keep in mind, I cut firewood for a hobby. I enjoy doing it. We burn some, I sell a bunch, you know, that money kind of goes into a little gun fund or something like that, just kind of extra money. I just really enjoy cutting firewood. It gives me a good reason to be out in the woods, and I enjoy doing it. You know, I did a video early last year, something like, can you make money selling firewood? And you know, there's a lot of comments that say, oh, you handle the firewood too much and things like that. I get that, I do at times, but what I like to do is, you know, I like to get all my rounds cut out in the woods, and there's a reason that I do this. I get everything cut out there and I haul it in. Instead of taking the log splitter out there and having a finished product when you come out of the woods, I like just bringing rounds here to the yard, and the reason is this. So on evenings like this, when it's wet and rainy, or in the middle of winter if it's nasty out, I can go split firewood. It gives me something to do even when I can't get out in the woods because of the weather conditions. So that's why I like to bring a whole bunch of rounds here into the yard instead of getting everything done out there in the woods. I figure, why waste time splitting out there when I can do that anytime? So that's why I do that. There are also comments in that video, you know, this would be faster or that would be faster, and I get that. I get a lot done around here, I really do, but when it comes to cutting firewood, like I said, it's a hobby for me. It's not all about how fast I can do it. Sometimes, you know, I'll go out cutting firewood, next thing you know, I'm wandering off in the woods looking for sheds or buck rubs or whatever. I just like being out in the woods. So it's not so much, I got to get this done right now. It's kind of all fun for me. It would be like saying, hey, I had a 2-week vacation, but I got it all done in one day. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make a lot of sense. I enjoy the whole process. So if you feel like it, comment below, you know, let me know what you feel is the perfect setup for gathering firewood. And if you want to post pictures, go to our Facebook page, Outdoors with the Morgans, and you can post them there. And we'll see what everybody thinks. I'm kind of curious to see what everybody else's setup is for gathering firewood. But like I said, so far, this is the best setup I have had ever. But anyway, like I always say, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like button, click subscribe, and share them with your friends. Thanks.